parents, and happy Tuesday. Today's lesson was a lesson about grouping. We were looking at three numbers to multiply, but we're using grouping symbols. Our grouping symbols that we used were parentheses. So we were grouping two numbers or two factors together to multiply those two together. Once we get that answer, we can multiply it times a third. So that is what the lesson focused on today. It was grouping. So just a quick thing just to let you know, tomorrow is Wear Red Day for Red Ribbon Week. So make sure that you wear your red on tomorrow. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and jump right on in with the homework for today. So homework today was on page 197. And it starts with number 1, and it says, Kelly made the bracelet shown to the right. So I went ahead and drew some bracelets on this side. So number 1 says, how many beads did Kelly put on each bracelet? Well, let's go ahead and look at that. So we're gonna look at her bracelets. Okay, so if I look at her bracelets and I count the beads, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can put that Kelly has 5 beads on each bracelet. So I'm going to put 5. All right. Let's go to number 2. Number 2 says, how many bracelets did Kelly put in each bag? Well, if I look at this bag, I have 1, 2, 3 bracelets. If I look at this bag, I have 1, 2, 3 bracelets. So inside of each of these bags, Kelly has 3 bracelets. So I'm going to put the number 3. Okay, let's keep going. So number 3 says, how many bags did Kelly use? Okay, so these are my bags. Well, this is 1 bag, and this is 2 bags. So Kelly used 2 bags. Okay, let's go to number 4. Number 4 says, how many beads did Kelly use? So now they want to know how many beads Kelly used. So basically they're asking us how many beads she used in all. Well, we can figure that out by doing a skip count. If we know that Kelly has 5 beads on each bracelet, we can skip count by 5. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to put a skip count on my bracelet. So this will be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. So we know now that Kelly put 30 beads, or she used 30 beads in all. So I'm going to put the number 30. All right, let's go ahead and go to number 5. Number 5 says, write a multiplication equation, use parentheses to show which numbers you will multiply first. Okay, so they want us to take the information that we have here and they want us to put it into a multiplication equation. And then not only that, they want us to group things using our grouping symbols, which are our parentheses, to show which number goes first. Now, one thing about parentheses, when you put something in parentheses, it's like quotation marks screaming at you, hey, solve me first. I am here. Solve me first. So parentheses are very selfish that way. When you see something in parentheses, they want to be first. So that means you're going to solve them first. So let's go ahead and look at this. First, we're going to make our equation, and then we will put our parentheses. So I know that I have 5 beads on each bracelet, so I'm going to put the number 5. I'm going to write that 5 a little better than that. Okay, then I know that I have 3 bracelets in each bag, so 3 goes here. I also know that I have 2 bags, that goes here. So these are all my factors, 5, 3, and 2. Okay, then I once I counted all my beads, that gave me an answer of 30. So I'm gonna put that here. But I'm putting it there, but Ms. Newman, you know she loves a check. I'm gonna solve all this, and I'm gonna check it to make sure 30 is correct. So let's go ahead and move to the next step, which is going to be using our grouping symbols, and which are our parentheses to group our factors. So I like to group things that are easier to solve. Ms. Newman could put parentheses around 5 and 3, but if I do that, then 5 times 3, because remember parentheses means solve me first, 5 times 3 would be 15. And then I would have to do 15 times 2. Well, we may not know 15 times 2 just yet. But we can do repeated addition where we could do 15 plus 15, but that's just adding another step. And I try not to add as many steps because I don't want the kids to get confused. So I don't think I would use this as my numbers I want to group. You can use it. Some kids use it. Some kids know how to solve it. That is fine, perfect. Because again, it doesn't matter how you group it. If you do it correctly, you're gonna get the right answer. So I'm not gonna do that. So Ms. Newman is gonna go back and take this away, and I'm gonna show you the one that I will use because it would make it easier to solve. Instead of grouping 5 and 3 in parentheses, I'm going to group 3 and 2 in parentheses. Like that. So now remember, parentheses mean, hey, solve me first. So now I'm going to solve 3 times 2 first. So 3 times 2 is going to be 6. 6 is perfect because I already know how to multiply by 6, which is why I say I would do this first, because I know how to multiply by 6, then multiply by that 15 I got. So it's easier to group 3 and 2. Now all I have to do is bring down 5 times. So if I multiply 5 times 6, then I do know that 5 times 6 equals 30. So that means 30 would be correct. So the way that you can group this that is easier for you to solve is to write it this way. Not saying that if you group 5 times 3, that's wrong. No, it is not wrong. It is absolutely correct because you're still going to get the right answer. I just want you to take an easier route. But if you love a challenge, go right on ahead and do it because I like to challenge myself. So, but if you want to go ahead and take that easier route, go ahead and group that and get the number 6 because we know how to multiply by 6. It'll be quick, simple, and easy. So these are numbers 1 through 5, and that's the answers. Let's keep going, and we're going to go to the next page, which is going to be page 198. The next thing is going to be number 6. So for number 6, let's read it. Number 6 says, how would you group the numbers to find 7 times 2 times 4 and why? Okay, so let me go ahead and write those numbers. 7 times 2 times 4. So they want to know how would I group these numbers and why would I pick that particular grouping? Okay, let's go ahead and jump into it. So I can group 7 times 2, but 7 times 2 is 14. That means I would have to multiply by 14. 14 is a big number and we really haven't worked with 14. So I wouldn't pick 14 because again, we're trying to find things that are easier, something that is not going to give us a lot of trouble. So I would actually go back and I would pick 2 and 4 to put in my group. I would put my parentheses around 2 times 4 because 2 times 4 is 8. We know our 8s. 8s will be easier for us to solve. So let's go ahead and look at that. If I put my 2 times 4, like I said, it would be 8. and then all I would have to do is multiply 7 times 8, which is a fact that we would already know, which is easier and simpler. So that would be the reason why. So I'm going to write that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read what I wrote. I wrote, I would group 2 times 4 and get 8 because it is easier to multiply 7 times 8. Again, it would be easier to multiply 7 times 8 versus if I did 7 and 2, got 14. Now I'm multiplying 14 times 4, which means I have to do an extra step of doing repeated addition of adding 14 4 times, which is another extra step. So I'm just cutting down on the steps. All right, let's go to number 7. So for number 7, it says, Addison and Claire choose different ways to multiply 4 times 5 times 3. Addison grouped the numbers like this, 4 times, and then in parentheses, 5 times 3. She found 5 times 3 equals 15. She multiplied her parentheses first because, again, parentheses mean, hey, solve me first. Then she multiplied the 4 times 15 by adding 15 plus 15 plus 15 plus 15 to get 60, which is that extra step I was telling you when we have those big numbers, you would have to do the repeat addition step of adding that 4 times. So then it says, explain how Claire could have grouped the numbers to multiply. Show the steps she used to find her answer. So they want to know what's another way that Claire could group that. She grouped 5 and 3 together and got 15. Well, there is another way that Claire could group it, and now she wouldn't have to do the repeat addition. All she would have to do is multiply. So they want us to do the step to where she would just multiply instead of doing that repeat addition. So let's go ahead and jump into that. The first step is to actually write down the numbers they gave us. So they gave us 4 times 5 times 3. Okay, this is my multiplication equation. So Claire had grouped 5 and 3 together. Well, they want us to do another way to go ahead and group this and multiply. So let's go ahead and look at it. I can group 4 and 5. So if I group 4 and 5, when I look at that, I'm still going to get a big number. But it'll be easier for me to do this because the number is a multiple of a 10. It's a 10. So let's look at this. We have 4 times 5, because remember we do that first because parentheses means, hey, solve me first. So 4 times 5 is going to be 20. Then I bring down what's left, times 3. Okay. So again, we have a big number to multiply, 20 times 3, but a lot of the kids, what they did in class, because some of us did start our homework in class, they still did the repeat addition. We can do that. I would suggest doing the repeat addition because we haven't gotten into how to multiply those big numbers like this. I could show you that, but it's not something we're not there yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you how to do the repeat addition. Okay, so this 3 means I'm going to add 23 times. 20 plus 20 plus 20. Now what some of my kids did, they said, hey, I can count by twos. I can skip count by twos because that's a 2 in front of there. So I was like, oh, I can skip count by 20 because I had some of my kids who are just like, my kids are so super smart. And they're always thinking about ways to work around how to get the answer. And some of my kids was like, well, I can skip count by 20. And some of my kids was like, I can skip count by twos too. So there are many different ways we can figure this out. So what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna go ahead and add it. But if you are one of those kids or these mathematicians that you like to think outside the box, go right ahead. I love thinking out of the box. So this is going to be 20 plus 20 is going to give me an answer of 40. And then I bring down this 20, 40 plus this 20 is going to give me a final answer of 60. So now I know that 20 times 3 equals 60. Okay, so this would be the answer, and these are the steps that we would write because it asks us to show the steps to find her answers. These would be the steps. All right, let's go to number 8. I am going to, let's see, maybe I can try to make sure I have enough room. I'm going to do another page. I'm just going to go to another page. All right, let's do number 8. So for number 8, it says, show 2 different ways to group 8 times 2 times 3. Then find the product. Remember, the product is the answer to our multiplication equation. So make sure you are practicing those vocabulary words. So I'm going to write what they gave me, which was 8 times 2 times 3. And they want me to show 2 different ways. So I'm going to write it one way, and then I'm going to write it another way. So I'm going to write it 2 times. 8 times 2 times 3. Okay, so I'm going to start over here. And I'm going to find a way that I can group this. So I'm just going to start in the beginning and say, hey, I'm going to group 8 times 2 in my parentheses. All right. And now I'm going to go here, and then I'm saying, well, I grouped 8 times 2 for the first one, so I'm going to do something different because they wanted a different way. I'm going to do 2 times 3 in my parentheses. So these are the 2 different ways that we can group it. But then it asked me to find the product. So let's go ahead and find the product. So we're going to go to this first one, and we're going to multiply it, and then we're going to find the product for that one. So let's start there with, remember, parentheses means, hey, solve me first. So I have 8 times 2 in parentheses. That is going to be 16. So I'm going to write 16 times and then 3. Bring that 3 down. Now, again, because we have not started multiplying these big numbers, we would do repeated addition. That 3 tells me that I'm going to add 16 3 times. So I'm going to set it up right here. I'm going to put 16 plus 16 plus 16. Okay, so let's start adding this up. I can write it this way for my people who like to see it this way. So 16 plus 6, starting in the ones place was 6 plus 6. That is going to be 12. So I'm going to write the 2, and I'm going to regroup the 1 in the tens place. Now I have 1 plus 1, that is going to be 2, plus the 1 that I regrouped is going to be 3. So far I have 32, but I'm not finished because I still have one more 16 to add. So I'm going to do my answer here, which is 32, plus that last 16. So let's start in the ones place. I have 2 plus 6, this is going to be 8. And then I have 3 plus 1, which is going to be 4 in the tens place. So now I know that 16 times 3 is going to equal 48. Okay, let's go to the second grouping. So for the second grouping, I have 2 times 3 in parentheses. Again, we know when we see parentheses that says, hey, solve me first. So let's go ahead and solve that. 2 times 3 is going to equal 6. So I'm going to put my 6. And then I'm just going to bring down what's left, which is 8 times. Now I have 8 times 6. 8 times 6 is an easy fact to multiply because I know my 8, I know my 6. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply 8 times 6, and that is going to give me an answer of 48. So again, I got 48 for both of these, which goes to show you, like I said at the beginning, it doesn't matter how you group them, you're going to get the same answer if you solve them correctly because you are using the same factors or the same numbers. So again, it doesn't matter which grouping you choose. You should get the same answer if you go ahead and solve it correctly. So let's go ahead and go to number 9. Okay. Let me go back here because it actually had a solution line. So on the solution line, you would put the product, because it asks then find the product. The product is 48. Okay, there we go. Now we can move on to 9. So 9 says, look at your work in problem 8. So they want us to go back to 8. All right. Which way of grouping is easier for you and why? Well, this is a discussion that I had with my kids today in class. I asked them which way you prefer grouping. If you prefer grouping it this way, where you had the bigger number like 16, raise your hand. And then I had a few kids raise their hand for that. And then I asked them, do you prefer grouping it to where you have a smaller number so you have a simpler fact like 8 times 6, raise your hand. And then I had a majority of my kids raise their hand for that. I am on this side with the majority of my kids. I would prefer grouping it using the smaller numbers because it gives me an easier fact to solve than having to do that extra step of repeat addition. As you can see, it was nice and simple and I just got this. But over here, I had to do a little more work to get my answer. So when it asks me which way of grouping is easier for you, I'm going to say the grouping where I have 2 times 3 in parentheses. And the reason why is because it gives me an easier fact to solve. Okay, so I wrote, I like 8 times and then in parentheses 2 times 3 because it is easier to solve 8 times 6. Okay, that is it for today. It was a very short lesson on today, a short homework on today. Again, if you have any questions, parents, make sure you are sending me those questions. I'm more than happy to help you in any way that I can. Wear red on tomorrow for Red Ribbon Week. Trying to think about all the other different things we have going on. I know we have things that happen almost every week. I think that is it for this week. Make sure you are monitoring grades on J Campus. And I think that may be it. Oh, if you did not send me the school's motto, make sure you get that in. I got a few of those already. Great job on giving me that motto. If you didn't give it to me yet, make sure you send it in to me so that I can go ahead and give you your bonus points. Because, hey, who doesn't want a few bonus points? Okay, so that is it for today. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you guys on tomorrow. Bye.